From Webcast One Live Studios, it's the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we help you tackle financial issues no matter how big or small. We help people go from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan. And now, here is your host, the owner and lead financial coach at Strong Tower Consulting, Justin Bennett.
And we are live today at the Webcast One Studios. It is the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we do help people from being broke and scared and giving them hope with a plan. Thank you again for joining us today. We are glad that you are here. As a part of the show today, we're going to have a single mom who in just 7 months has paid off almost $12,000 in debt. I'm often asked, how do people pay off this debt? And they do it in a relatively quick period of time. Well, we're going to interview someone here today who is in the process of doing just that. Also on today's program, we're going to have Steve Bensema back with us from Remax Real Estate. We're going to talk about the process of buying your home, whether this is your first time buying a home or your second home. We're going to talk to you about the buying process and how that can be a smooth process for you. We're also today going to talk about what to look for when buying a house from how much you can afford. The bank tells you one thing you can afford. We're going to walk you through what you should really be looking for to make sure you don't buy too much house and that you can enjoy the house as a blessing instead of a nightmare. Well, again, on our show today, we have a very special guest, a past client and a friend of mine, Shauna Robinson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Oh, not bad. The snow kind of stinks.
Snow in February. So you're a single mom.
Yes.
And walk us through a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living and those things.
My name's Shauna Robinson. I'm 27 years old. I live down in the boondocks in southern Iowa.
Now, careful. I'm from the same boondocks. Yes, there's more cows than people where we're from, but...
I live in a small town called Clio, a population maybe 100. That's including dogs and cats. I work full-time with Decatur County Public Health as a health coordinator. I'm in charge of 2 different grants, tobacco coordinator and also the community transformation grant. I also work for Wayne County doing the exact same grant. I'm contracted through them. And then on the weekends, I work with special needs.
Very good. So, again, we talked about it, at the beginning of the show about how you've paid off $12,000 in debt. We'll talk about how you did that in a little bit, but it didn't start out that way, did it?
Oh, gosh, no.
So walk us through what happened or what are some things that led up to a financial mess. And believe me, I've done my share of dumb things. A lot of us have. But walk us through what were some of the things that you did that all of a sudden it started to pile up and get scary for you?
It pretty much started, I was engaged for about 2 years, 3 years. And my ex and I were not very smart with money. He was buying a house. We weren't getting along the greatest. I didn't want my name on the loan. But I took out student loans and additional student loans on top of going to college to allow him to pay off his credit. I took out almost $7,000 to $8,000 worth of extra loans just to help him pay off his credit because he had everything on there. And then we got the house. It was beautiful, awesome, but we just didn't get along, and so I ended up leaving. About 6 months later, I was working as a lab tech, making about close to $50,000. Life was good. I was paying my bills barely on time, never had any extra money. And I was constantly doing my budget, trying to figure out where my money was going. How do I raise a daughter on my own? She's 3, or she was 2 at the time. How do I do this? My lack of attention at work made me lose my job. So here I am. I luckily just got my taxes done, and I got like a $5,000 refund because my deductions were always 0. And I was just sitting there thinking, how am I going to do this? I literally just lost a $50,000 job in southern Iowa, which is very hard to come by. Who's going to want to hire me, especially knowing that I was fired? So did some major soul searching. And my sister's like, I kept calling my sister and complaining to her, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. And she's like, well, where's that Dave Ramsey book I gave you for graduation? I was like, oh, it's probably still in a box somewhere. She's like, have you read it? No. Well, I read the book within like 4 or 5 hours. And then I went and I looked online, is there a financial class? So I did. I found one in Centerville, which is like a 50-minute drive for me every single week. And
one way even.
Yes. And I was there almost the entire day in Centerville. I had to give up time with my daughter, and pretty much they just told me, if you work at it, it'll come. And so I'm like, what the heck does that mean? In all honesty, I did this class, and the more I was doing it, the more I'm like, wow, I think this could work for me. And then I got a job. I was offered a job part-time working as a tobacco coordinator for Decatur County, and it turned into full-time. And then Wayne County saw what I was doing as well, so they contracted me through them. And then our custody finally got settled with my ex, and so I was able to. He had to go, or she went with him every other weekend. Well, those weekends, I'm not used to her being gone. I needed something to occupy my mind. So I got a third job working with special needs every other weekend. And just the rest is kind of history, I guess, as far as.
So you read the book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and then you're going through the class, Financial Peace University. As you were going through that class, when did you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel that looked like hope? Was it the first class? Was it a few classes? When did it say, you know what? I could actually get out of debt and start doing these things?
During the class, it was more so just I never went to church growing up, and it was sponsored. Dave Ramsey's class is faith based. Mm-hmm. To me, God really never. I never went to church, never grew up in it. So it was kind of a new thing for me, and just what Pastor Brad was telling me, he's like, just saying all this stuff about God and how he helps everybody. He's there in your darkest hour, and I was like, it made sense, and it was because of that really kind of. I really didn't grasp the whole concept of the debt thing because I was more so trying to find myself, and I feel like I did that. I found it through that class, and then. It was actually when I contacted you for my free 30-minute consultation that things started falling into place for me and having you help me realize I'm not as far in debt as I thought. I'm not. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Before I went and saw you, obviously I had my list of paper that said, here's all my debts, and my debts are roughly around $90,000. Well, now looking back, now I'm a year and a half away from being debt free.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned the free 30-minute consultation, which on this show, I'm always talking about people coming to a free 30-minute consultation. I probably sound like a used car salesman. Come to this thing. Were you nervous during the 30-minute consultation? Were you like, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was? Walk people through what's it like actually going through that 30-minute consultation.
I bawled, as you remember.
It's all right.
It was more so just I knew what I had to do, but I didn't know the steps to do it. You made me call my creditors and find out how much I owed them. I had a propane bill. I actually got sued for it. It was $485. I'm like, so I had that wrote down, and I actually called them. How much do I owe you? And it was $600 and some dollars. I'm like, wow, that debt did not die. It just kept going. Mm-hmm. So that was probably the hardest thing was realizing how much debt that I had, and then realizing I took on a lot more debt than I should have, and credit cards are not free money. And so that was a big kicker for me.
So were you hogtied? I mean, did you have to say yes right then and there? Because I'm sure some people think, well, if I go to this free 30-minute consultation, it's going to be like one of those timeshare deals where he won't leave you alone until you say yes. Did you ever feel pressure that you had to say yes right then and there?
I didn't know. Also, another thing helped also was Eric and Kelsey Williams. I went to college with Kelsey, and so I've known her for quite a while. And to read her blog and be able to say what they did, I went to their blog actually first before I went to you.
That's all right.
And they really, just their inspiration, like how they're able to do this within such a short round of period. I'm like, well, why can't I do it? And that's where I went with you, hoping that you'd help me get on the right track and get things going. And obviously it's worked very well.
You bet. And just a quick plug, by the way, when she said Eric and Kelsey Williams, they have a great blog site called wordsofwilliams.com, wordsofwilliams.com. Check that out. They are a couple who, like you, went through Financial Peace University, and it changed their marriage, and they have their own child, and they blog almost daily about their life, and whether it's about life, raising their child, changing jobs. And so I just recommend that site. So a quick plug for them, wordsofwilliams.com. You will not regret getting their daily blog posts. They are very good at just being open and honest and sharing their story. So Financial Peace University, just real quick, that was obviously a huge thing for you. So huge that you're now coordinating a class.
Yes.
Your first class. And so how is that coordinating a class?
It's at first I was scared to death. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, I'm not a big financial person. All I can go off is my personal experience of how it's helped me in my life, how people in my community have seen me just transform from the obnoxious girl that I was in high school to a grown, responsible adult. And in my class, right now I've got 6 different groups, or not groups, but partners in there. And it's just amazing to watch them grasp the concepts that I did and just kind of run with it. Last week we had one of our members cut up like 4 or 5 credit cards, and you can just tell that it's making a change in her life. And she said something that I said in my first class was, it's either sink or swim. She's like, it's either this class or we're going to file for bankruptcy. I wasn't to that point yet, but she has 2 kids and a grandson living with them. They had to do something. And to see just the fight in her eyes, I'm like, wow, that was me 6 months ago. And just to see how much is helping me, how much I help them by taking all the classes, and it's so rewarding.
You bet. And not only rewarding, I would think that you're even more charged up to go after your stuff now.
Yes.
And so are you picking up new pieces of information, going through it again? Because I've taught that class so many times I could probably replace Dave if he needed it. But, I mean, are you starting to even pick up other nuggets? Oh, man, I forgot he said this, or, oh, I could do that.
Yes. And I've kind of tied in, things I've learned from you as well, during our discussion groups, just stuff that you've taught me, stuff that I've picked up along the way. And I just recently had my taxes done. That was another story. It's kind of funny. I went in there, and she's like, oh, you're going to get almost $3,000 back. She's like, but why did you change your deductions throughout the year? She's like, you could have got almost $7,000 back. I'm like, I don't want that money. I was like, I'd rather have it during the year when I'm struggling versus at the end of the year when I'm not. And she's just like, well, you should. I'm like, no, I'm just giving the government interest-free loan for an entire year. No thanks. I'd rather have it in my own pocket.
Absolutely. And so when we come back, we're actually going to talk with Shauna, and we're going to talk with her how the coaching process helped her pay off the money that she did in the 90 days, not counting where she is today. We're almost paid off $12,000 in debt. So it's not just the class that helps, it's coaching, financial coaching. And so if you want to hear exactly how you can pay off debt, like Shauna did, even as a single mom, we're going to go through that when we come back. Also later in the show, we're going to have Steve Bensema with RE/MAX Real Estate to talk about buying a home. And so stay with us. We will be back.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager
I'm the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
And we are back here at the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we do help people go from being broke and scared, and we give them hope with a plan. Thanks for sticking around with us today. Again, later on our show, Steve Bensmo with RE/MAX Real Estate to go over how to buy a house, what to look for when buying a house. And also later, we're going to be talking about what to look for as far as what you can really afford, not what the bank says you can afford when it comes to your house. Our last segment, we had Shauna Robinson, who is one of my past clients and friend, and she's done an awesome job paying off almost $12,000 in debt in just 7 months, doing both Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University class and going through one-on-one financial coaching. So, Shauna, we have you back on the air here, and let's talk about this because you had some debt. So you, as you mentioned earlier, you had a back propane bill, you had some medical debts, you had a car loan, student loan, even owed some family members some money. What was it like when you first tallied all that debt up and go, oh my goodness, I owe a lot of money?
I wanted to hide in my closet and not come out.
Yep.
I owed my lawyer money, and I started doing after I met with you, and I also do the Dave Ramsey stuff. I had a lawyer bill. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do the envelope system with it. You know, every check I'm going to put so much money into this envelope, and then give it to her. Well, sometimes I could only afford like $5, and $10 and $20, and then I finally had all of her money. I had $500 in this envelope. I was scared to death to carry it around, but I did because I knew I didn't make it to that town very often. But I was in Hy-Vee, and I was working with my clients, and I was like, oh my God, there's Dusty, my lawyer. And I literally handed her the envelope, and right there in Hy-Vee checkout line, she's like, Shauna, you don't have to pay me. She's like, it's okay. She's like, if you need to pay this on other stuff, don't worry about it. She's like, I know you'll pay. I'm like, no, here, take it. And she's like, are you sure? She's like, Shauna, I know you'll pay. I'm like, I'm crossing you off my list. She's like, what? I'm like, I have all my debts listed out, and you're on the top of my list. I'm crossing you off, and you're going to be done. And she just started laughing, and then she called me the next day. She's like, I'm kind of glad you gave me cash. She's like, we were out of petty cash. She's like, all we had was bigger bills. She's like, I had $5, $10, $1 bills in there. She's like, it was awesome.
Wow. So how did it feel to be able to say, here, no, take it. I'm done with this bill. How did it feel to get that bill off your back?
It was hilarious. It felt good knowing I'm like, wow, $500. I was able to save it up, and it was less than a month that I saved that money up. And I was like, it would have taken me forever before, and my debts were never paid on time. And now I had everything listed out when they were due, when I had to take which paycheck I had to disperse it with. And then I think my biggest thing was my daughter Ava. She's 3 now. She's very spunky. But she'd go in the store, I want that. Oh, I don't want to be the bad mom. I don't want her dad to outshine me. So I'd buy it for her. And then it'd sit in the trunk for a good 3 to 4 months. She'd forget about it. So I wasted $15 on little random toys throughout, I do it repeatedly. And I finally had to tell her no, and that was probably the hardest thing for me. But
how did she handle that?
She didn't care. She didn't miss him one bit.
Because a lot of people who go through divorces, that's what it is. It's a battle between, okay, who can be the better parent and who's going to outdo who. And you started that way, but saying no to our kids, it's not child abuse, is it?
No, it's not. And what's funny, this morning I was actually doing my budget. I do usually about 2 weeks before the new month starts. And I was doing my envelopes and, writing them out because my envelopes were getting kind of raggedy because I'd had them probably since December. And in my purse, I carry everything. So I had to get new envelopes. And Ava came up to me. She's like, where's my envelope at? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, your money's an envelope. I need an envelope for my money. So I wrote out there Ava's Play money and put $1.04 in there, $1.04. And I have money. And then she looked at me funny. She's like, I don't want this money. So she went and put it in her piggy bank. I have 3 different piggy banks, give, save, and spend. She put it all in her saving one. And I'm like, I could not be more proud. That was just a proud moment for me this morning.
Very cool. So one of the debts that you owed was to a family member.
Oh, yes.
What was it? Because one of the things I hear a lot of people saying, it's okay to owe money or borrow money from friends and family. And we say, no, that's not good. There is a relationship change. It's not good. What was it like owing your family member money?
I avoided him like the plague. He'd come by, I would talk to him, and I would try to avoid money talk at all costs. No pun intended. But when I finally got the money saved up, it wasn't much. It was like $300. But still, it was just, I avoided him like the plague. And finally I had that money. I'm like, here's your money. Well, you don't have to owe me. It's okay. You can just pay me later. No, now is later. Here you go. And now he's just like, how are you doing? He always asks, like, how am I doing? Do I need anything? Nope, I'm good. I got everything taken care of. And he's just like, good to know.
So do you feel like you have to hide from him anymore?
No.
So that you definitely could tell a big difference from owing money versus not owing money to family members.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the coaching process, because you said that's helped you out a lot. Why did you go see a coach? Because some people think, well, if I go to a class, that's all I need. Why did you go to a coach on top of going to a class?
I need someone to keep me being held responsible. I need someone to be like, so did you pay so where's your budget at? I need someone to actually, I had to do it. And then, okay, well, obviously you have me. I wanted someone to kind of not sugarcoat stuff for me. I wanted someone to be like, okay, where's your budget at? Why didn't you pay this bill off? Oh, I went to the mall instead. Yeah, I wanted someone to literally keep me accountable, because it's just me, and it's only me and my money. So it's like, I don't have, accountability partner, and I needed somebody to kick me in the butt, literally to get stuff started.
And the funny thing is, it got to the point at the end, you're like sending me an updated budget like twice a day. I mean, and I mean it in the good way. I mean, you were really on top of it. One of the things with my clients that I do here is I always track your victories. So whenever a client comes in and I do a follow-up meeting, and we do several follow-up meetings, I ask, so what are the victories that you've had over the last 30 days? And I always tell my clients the first 30 days of victories typically are more emotional than they are financial. So I just want to go through some of your victories, see if you remember these. So in your first 30 days of using coaching, you got back to full-time employment. Mm-hmm. You cut up all your credit cards, way to go, and canceled them, by the way. You finished your $1,000 baby step one emergency fund. You put $200, you finished that out. And here's the cool part. You had an emergency and you didn't freak out. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yes.
And then, and this is what I get a lot of clients saying, it wasn't as hard as you thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And the last one that we had in the first month was you didn't feel guilty about money anymore. What did you mean by not feeling guilty about money? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, that was a while ago.
It's okay.
I always felt guilty, like, I'd always go out and buy something, again, they say, buyer's remorse. I wasn't budgeting my money. I wasn't thinking, 5-10 years down the road. I would just instinctively buy something, and then I'd be driving home, and I would just be like, like gut feeling in your stomach, it's called what does Dave Ramsey call it? The women have it.
Oh, that.
Like,
I know what you're talking about. Now I can't even think of it. Man, where it spasm. I can't even say it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes. I would always feel guilty after I bought something. And now it's like, I budget for it. I think it through. Then I think it again. I'm like, do I really need this? Do I really need new shoes, even though my toe is sticking out? It could be a new fashion statement. It could be open-toed shoes. No, I need my shoes.
Security gland.
Yeah.
I have to interrupt you. Security gland.
But now that I budget for almost everything, like my friends just laugh so much at me, because like I had Ava's pictures done, and like, oh, well, it was $50. I'm like, I had it budgeted for like 3 months. It's like, so it wasn't a big deal. And like, well, we did it every other month. And I'm like, why? Your child doesn't really grow that much. And it's funny because, everything is in my budget. I mean, I'm so anal about it. I'm like, no, it's not my budget. I'm not going to do it.
So are people making fun of you then, or are they just giving you a hard time, or?
They laugh at me for how persistent I am with my budget.
and do you care?
No.
And that's what happens when you get control of your life. You really don't care about what other people think. And I'm not saying you, but just in general, when you start doing a budget.
Well, Well, a lot of them are older. They're like about 35. They're like, oh, that's funny. Why are you doing that? I'm like, because when I'm your age, I'm not going to owe anything.
Cool.
And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, my car's going to be paid off because I impulsively bought my car, which was a dumb idea. Bought it brand new. Don't do that. And then I also, my student loans, they're going to be done. I made so many stupid mistakes that I'm not going to allow myself to make any more of those or let my daughter do it. I want her to teach her the right ways, pay for cash. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. At 3 years old, she's already putting everything away.
So on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and then I blogged on it, I was asked a question. This is actually from a guy who does FPU coordinating. Tell people, how did you do it? So you're right here, right now. You are in the process of getting out of debt. And again, you've paid off almost $12,000 in 7 months. What are you doing to get traction?
Probably like the biggest thing for me was sit down and kind of just think about your life. Right now I'm a single mom. Her dad has really, I don't mean to bash him. He's gave me the best thing in the world, but he has really bad credit score. He's in debt up to his eyeballs. And it's like, okay, when Ava goes to college, if she has to take out student loans, she's screwed when she talks to her dad. If her dad has to co-sign, I'm like, she's got to depend on me only. So I'm like, I need to set such an example for my daughter that she doesn't have to worry about it later on.
And doesn't even use student loans.
No, exactly. And so I've been looking online, looking at 529 and stuff like that, just for educational. Obviously, I'm not that far yet. I called my dad's financial planner like a month ago. I'm like, here's the deal. I'll be debt free in 2 years. I want to start saving for my daughter's college. What do you recommend? Well, how old is she? 3. You're ahead of me. I don't really know at the time. He's like, I can't really tell you right now. I'm like, well, crap. What's that good for?
Well, and the good news is you're being proactive, and when you're proactive with your money, things positively begin to happen. And one thing I want to share with the audience that was really neat, when we first started working together, you were still, as you said, with the class, it kind of helps you kind of get some of your identity back. But
I feel like I've grown as a person immensely.
Because you were, really, not just financial, but in every way, you just felt down in the dumps. But I'll never forget, right before the end of our coaching together, you sent me like a page and a half worth of goals. Just everything broke down step by step by step. And it's because you had hope again. And so we've got about 15 seconds left. What would you tell somebody when it comes to why they should use a coach?
You're worth it.
Wow. $1 million? No.
Yes.
By the way, she is a single mom, so any guys out there that have their finances in order, look her up on Facebook or something. I don't know. So, Shauna, thank you for being on our show today. We really do appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to be talking again with Steve Bensema with how to buy your first home or any other home after this.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
My name is Justin Bennett with Strong Tower Consulting, where we passionately coach individuals, families, and businesses to make better financial decisions that help create success and eliminate financial stress. I offer a free 30-minute consultation where we find out where your situation is. I explain how I do my coaching services. Then it's up to you whether you want to continue. The Bible has, depending on who you believe, 800 to 2,000 scriptures that talk about money alone. So pretty important subject in God's eyes. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing, is help them see God's ways of handling money. It's interesting. Most people that I ask, what would it be like to be debt-free? The common response is, I don't know. I don't think it's possible. But in 90 days, most of my clients go from, I don't think it's possible, to I'm excited. In 2 years or less, I will be debt-free. There's no tricks, no gimmicks, nothing being sold here. It's just learning how to do money well. This is Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we help people go from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy for Adam Albrecht, financial planner and AO Wealth Advisor. Adam, tell the folks listening today, just who is Adam Albrecht?
I am a certified financial planner, and I created AO Wealth Advisory a couple years ago to be able to help people with their finances all the way from basic budgeting on to retirement and estate planning.
All right, now that we know who you are, what do you do? How do you help people?
I help people by focusing on 3 key areas, on what they earn, how they invest it wisely, and then also where they give it on, whether it's onto charity or onto family, but do it from a biblical base, using verses that have been around forever, transcendent knowledge that's been around 4,000 plus years.
Call Adam Olbrecht, a financial planner with AO Wealth Advisory. Give us your number, Adam.
Yeah, 515-224-7849.
Advisory services offered through Investment Advisors Corp., an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Broker Dealer Financial Services Corp., members FINRA and SIPC. Thanks for watching.
And we are back here live at Strong Tower Financial Hour. Thank you again for joining us today. Earlier on our show, we had Shauna Robinson, a past client, who paid off almost $12,000 in 7 months. Wow. And if you missed that part, be sure to go online and find our show so you can go back and play that back. Well worth watching. And later on the show, we're going to talk about when it comes to buying a home, how you can find out what you really can't afford, not what the bank thinks you can afford. But right now, we want to welcome back Steve Bensema with RE/MAX Real Estate. Steve, how's it going?
Doing great, Justin. Thanks for having me back.
As always, so glad to have you here. And there wasn't too much snow to keep you away, was there?
No, the sun was actually shining by the time I finally got here, so it was good.
So good thing our show's not on Thursday, or we might have been taking a snowplow to the studio.
Would have been a little more difficult.
Well, I want to give a recap for people who may have missed you in the last show who
Sure.
Steve Bensema is. So Steve Bensema is not your typical realtor. In fact, you'd call yourself almost a consultant. Why is that?
So basically, when I started getting into this business, my dad asked me if I was really a salesman, and I thought about it, and I really came to the conclusion of no, I'm not. And the reason is, at the end of the day, I'm not really selling anything except for my experience. So what people get when they work with me is not a sales pitch. I'm not trying to sell them paper like on The Office or anything like that. They're getting me and my expertise. And so at the end of the day, my clients are ones that are making the decision on whatever home they're buying or selling, the price they're paying or not paying. And so really, my job is to give them information and to consult them so that they can make the best, most informed decision for them and their family.
Well, on today's show, we're going to talk about the buying process. So if I'm a buyer and I want to look for a realtor and I say choose Steve Bensema, walk me through what is it that you do as a consultant to help people buy, whether it's their first home or the second home?
Really, it just comes down to I love doing first-time home buyer or anytime buyer consultations. So what I do with that is I sit down with people. I have a whole questionnaire that I go through with people to really figure out what are their needs, so we can really craft whatever home they're looking for to make sure our search is targeted around their needs. And so really going from what they think they can afford, which then sometimes means bringing them back down into reality, which I know we'll hit on here in a minute, to how many bedrooms, are they planning on having kids or more kids, and trying to figure out from a bedroom configuration, and really just trying to think through things that people haven't really thought about to make sure that we're looking for the right home, not just a home they think they want.
So why is it important to take a step back? Because obviously with the internet and online, I mean, all you have to do is go online to look and search and Google and Facebook, and pretty soon, oh, I like that house. So versus me calling up Steve Bensema, I want this house. Why is it worth taking a step back and going, what do we really want versus that one?
You know, it's kind of with anything. When you make a decision based on emotion, you may not really be making the right decision. So that's why, especially when you're buying a car or any major purchase, you don't want to just go in and buy the first thing you see on a lot. You want to make sure you're approaching anything with wisdom, with thinking through things of how is this going to affect our family? How is this going to affect the way we network with our community? How is this, and everything else that goes into buying a home. School district. The reason I say if people are thinking of having kids, I had this couple I was working with where they loved this home. It was the first home I met them at. They absolutely loved this home. There's one bedroom on the main level. The other 3 bedrooms were in the basement. And so I asked them, they were engaged at the time. I was like, so you guys are getting married? And they're like, yeah, we're so excited. I was like, awesome. Thinking of having any kids? And they're like, oh yeah, we want a big family. I was like, okay. Are you going to have an issue with the only bedrooms being at a different level than you? And she was like, oh yeah. Yeah, that would be an issue for us. And I was like, okay, then this isn't the right house. So even though they loved the design, the floor plan, all that kind of stuff, the bedrooms was a huge issue for them that they didn't even really think through. So sitting down with people sometimes beforehand to think through some of that can really help out.
And I'm assuming they're very grateful for you to point that out.
Yep, they actually got married here last fall, and now they're expecting their first one in a fantastic 3-bedroom home with 3 bedrooms on the same level.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that you have, again, that I think takes it away from, makes you a consultant rather, is your love it or leave it guarantee. I don't know any other realtor that has that, and I always get excited saying it, love it or leave it guarantee. What in the world is that?
Basically, I want to stand by my clients before, during, and after the sale. And the after part is, I think, partly what distinguishes me. I'll give you a backstory of why I do this and explain what it is. My brother and sister-in-law bought a home in Chicago area several years ago. My nephew was born with spina bifida, so he's in a wheelchair, and so they had to find something that was wheelchair accessible. Found this great townhome, wheelchair accessible, 3 bedrooms, all one level, no steps anywhere. It was perfect for them. Effectively, everybody else that lived in this community was 55 and older, so a couple of late 20s, early 30s with a kid and a dog coming in, people weren't too excited. And so they loved the home, but hated the neighborhood. And so they were at a situation where they just did not enjoy going home every night. And so within a year and a half, I believe, they tried to sell the home on their own because they didn't have the equity built up, and they couldn't afford to pay a realtor for the full commission because they didn't have the equity built up in the home yet. And so they basically had to take a loss and try to find something else. And so basically my love it or leave it guarantee is if somebody buys a home with me and in the first 6 months something comes up that's unforeseen, whether it be relationships with the neighbors, all of a sudden you found out you're having twins or triplets or whatever the case might be.
You wouldn't know anything about having twins, would you?
No, not at all. But basically any of those unforeseen things. So it's not, there's certain things that doesn't necessarily apply to, but if it's a situation of like, you know what, my backyard neighbor, their dog is just constantly issues of fighting back and forth, whatever it is, I'm going to stand by my client. We're going to list their house for free, and I'm going to help them. We're going to sell that house and help them find another house that's going to be a better fit for them.
So 5 months, 30 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, you get a call.
Yeah, if it's like 6 months and a week, we'll probably still honor it. But it's not one of those things like 4 years later, oh, we had 6 more kids, we need a different house.
Oh,
so.
Right. So walk us through, let's talk first-time home buyers, because I know you really like to work with them, and being a younger professional, I definitely can identify with them easier. Walk us through some of the fears that first-time home buyers typically go through that after working with you, you know what, that wasn't so bad after all. I was so worried about something that really wasn't worth worrying about.
There's a couple different things. One of them is this guy going to actually work for me, or is he going to work to snake me? That's one thing that people are a little scared of. They may have heard bad stories from friends or family members that have worked with other realtors in the past that didn't have a good experience. So that's one aspect of it. But another one is, am I going to actually like this house? Am I going to be buying the right thing? Should I be buying a townhouse or a condo, or should I just rent again or keep renting? And so there's a lot of unknown uncertainty. They've never been in a situation to really know what to look for, what to think through. And so it's all so new and so fresh that it's just complete uncharted waters where it's almost paralysis by analysis for some people of thinking through things too much. And so that's where it just kind of takes them back to, okay, let's just get down to the basics. Is buying the good option for you, and really taking them through all that. But that's partly why I love working with first-time home buyers, especially of the excitement, the drive. It's every time you open up a closet, it's a coat closet, and there's just the excitement that comes with first-time home buyers is just so much fun.
So one of the things, and this is very simple for us because we've been in the real estate business, but if I'm a first-time home buyer, I'm trying to step back. So how do you get paid? I mean, do I, as a first-time home buyer, do I have to pay you something for this?
Nope. That's one of the things I love working about with home buyers is I get to work for them for free. So when a seller lists a home, they pre-negotiate out the commission with the listing realtor. And through the MLS system, we have what's called broker reciprocity, where that commission, whether that be 5%, 6%, 7%, is split half and half between the two different brokerages. So my compensation comes from the sellers, even though I'm working for the buyers.
Very cool. So, and I had a question and I just lost it. Wow. I always like to tell people with their realtors, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, let them give you the red carpet treatment. They're gonna wine and dine you, and just let them just give you that ultimate experience in buying a home. Because again, we're just so worried about that. So talk to us a little bit about one of the things I really like. I get excited every time I hear you talk about it is affording a home. And again, in the next segment, I'm going to have you stick around for that. We're going to talk about what to look for. But one of the things that you, I think, do better than any realtor that I know is that you actually take the time to go, is this something you could afford? Not only afford, but let's say it's a $150,000 house, 3-bed, 2-bath, that's what we're looking for. realtors, as a whole, generally sometimes, well, let's go see what you're going to get in the 185, 190 range.
Mm-hmm.
You take a different approach. What is that?
Absolutely. I know we'll hit more of this on the next segment, so I won't hit on it too much. But I really go through my clients of figuring out not what they think they can afford, but really what they practically can afford. So I ask them questions around their budget and making sure they're within a healthy range. But the reason I do that is I tell people, I don't want you calling me in 2 to 3 years to do a short sale. And I want you to be able to order pizza on Friday night and not be worried about the mortgage coming out on Monday. And so it just brings a little bit of practicality back in. And so for some people, that means shrinking their budget of, great, if you want that 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, you might think you need to spend $150 or more. But if I can find one that has what you're looking for in that 130 range and save you some money per month, would you be okay with that? And I think the story that best exemplifies this, I had a great couple, had a lot of fun with them. They both just graduated from ISU with engineering degrees, with master's degrees. And they were like, oh yeah, money is not going to be a problem. So we're looking for like a $350,000 home.
Wow.
Like, great. Let's talk about that. And so started trying to go through their long-term picture. And this goes back to the consultation piece of asking them, what do you want for long-term? What are you looking for in a home? And their dream home was a 15-acre acreage, brand new, newer home. I was like, great, that is not in your price range, even at $350,000. So if that is the dream, let's put that kind of out there. How long until you want to be able to get there? And they're like, maybe 10, 15 years. I was like, okay, great. Instead of looking at $350,000 homes now, what if we find you something in that 175 to 225 range? If we can find something in that price range, it's going to save you so much more. And you can start putting money away to be able to make that a 5-year reality instead of a 15-year reality. And they're like, really? And I was like, yeah. So kind of ran through some numbers, showed them what the difference in payments would look like. My favorite part of this is they found a brand new construction spec home for $215, got the basement finished off, closed on it for about $235. And initially they were looking at a $350,000 home on a 30-year payment. And the lender I had them working with called them up and said, I figured out a way to save you $120,000 over the course of the loan. And Adam was like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
And so got them flipped into a 15-year payment instead because it was well within their comfort range. $120,000 of savings.
Wow.
And they spent over $100,000 less than they thought they needed to.
And it's a brand new home.
Brand new construction home. Don't have to worry about a thing.
These guys got to be thinking Steve and his mortgage guy are the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, I figure if they would have bought that $350,000 thing, got foreclosed on 2 or 3 years later, I wouldn't have been able to help them buy that $500,000 acreage they're looking for in 10 years.
And here's the cool thing. You could have said, oh, sure, let's go look for a 350, and you would have made more commission on that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I like about, okay, where do we want to be 5 years, 10 years? And it's not like you have a weekend-long summit where we're going to go through every nook and cranny of thought.
Sure.
But it's more of, okay, where do we really want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the best way to get there, even if it's slower? I'll never forget when I first... Our first home, and it a little more than we probably should have got the first go-around. But what was really interesting is, I'll never forget, we were at someone's house for like a game night. And it was one of those houses that have character, and they're cozy. And for me, I'm like ducking, trying to get in there because I'm a taller guy. And I remember going, this house is kind of cool. I know it looks kind of weird on the outside, but, we could have made a house like this work. But again, first-time home buyers, sometimes we get this, we got to have all the bedrooms, we got to have all the things. And we miss the opportunity of really learning from the first-time experience to be able to then go to get that other thing. Mm-hmm. So when we come back on Strong Tower Financial Hour, we're going to talk about how to look for what you can really afford when it comes to a house, how much down payment you should have, what your payment should look like. Should it be a 30-year, 15-year, adjustable rate mortgage, a fixed mortgage? Do I, pay cash? What do I do? We'll talk about that when we come back after the break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hi, my name is Steve Bensmo with RE/MAX, where a house becomes a home. And when your host, Justin, wanted to sell his home, he gave me a call. I want to share a little bit about my buying philosophy when I work with home buyers. I always want to make sure that people are taking into consideration what home they can afford, not what home they think they can afford. So I ask a question around if they've really looked at what their budget looks like for buying a home. And there's for 2 reasons. One, I do not want my clients calling me in 2 to 3 years to do a short sale. I want people to be able to order pizza on Friday night and not be worried about the mortgage on Monday. So if you're looking for a home to buy, you want someone on your side to make sure you're buying the right home for you right now, give me a call at 515-257-6531. Again, that's 515-257-6531. Or check me out on Facebook. Again, I'm Steve Bensimo with RE/MAX, where a house becomes a home, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Thanks.
At Conroy Insurance Services, LLC, we help families and business owners protect their most valuable assets. We have established an excellent reputation with our clients, and we will continue to strive to exceed your expectations. Our talented team of insurance professionals are always available to assist you, and that is why we are independent, trusted, and preferred. Hi, I'm Bob Conroy. Contact me for all of your personal and business insurance needs at conroyllc.com.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittysusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
And we are back here at the Webcast One studios. Thanks again for joining us. Earlier on the show, we had Shauna Robinson, a past client, a single mom who paid off almost $12,000 in 7 months. And I know I keep repeating myself, but that is worth repeating. Paying off $12,000 in 7 months as a single mom. I mean, she was willing to sacrifice to go to a class that was 50 miles one way. She was willing to work second job, third job, not give her daughter everything in sight. And she is just on fire. If you missed that, please look us up online, strongtowerconsulting.com, and you can watch that again. We had Steve Bensimo, and he's actually still with us, but we had Steve Bensimo with us talking about him on buying a home. And by the way, Steve, let's go ahead and jump back in here. So if someone wants to know more about Steve Bensimo, where would you send them to find out more about you, or maybe give you a call or an email?
Yeah, best place is go to my website, which is www.liveinoiowa.com. Great state of Iowa. And or call me at 515-257-6531. Again, that's 515-257-6531.
Very cool. And again, you want to give this guy a call, whether you're buying or maybe you're selling your home. Maybe you want to do that. I would highly endorse and recommend. I do endorse and recommend Steve Bensimo. Well, we're going to talk about a little bit today now on what to look for. Not so much in what you need to qualify at the bank. You can Google that and you can find that on a gazillion different websites. What I want to walk through you today, or show you guys today, is what you really should be trying to afford, because the bank goes through different things. And so here are some minimum requirements, and we're going to talk back and forth with Steve as a realtor, and Steve's going to basically say, Justin, you've either hit the nail on the head or you're on a different time zone. And so Steve's going to be kind of referee, if you will, of what I'm going to be saying here. So here's some minimum criteria. Number one, I recommend a minimum of 10% down. We have lived in the last 10 to 15 years, and I used to be a banker promoting this, of low to no money down, minimum 10% down. And there's a reason why we're going to talk about that. When it comes to what you can afford, no more than 25% or a quarter of your take-home pay. As Steve was talking in the last segment, you don't want to buy a home, and then you can't furnish it, you can't buy a pizza, or 3 years later you're worrying about short sale because you got into the highest home that you could afford according to your pre-approval letter. And then obviously we're going to talk about a 15-year mortgage over a 30 or 20-year mortgage, and why we recommend fixed versus adjustable rate and so on. But let's first talk about the 10% down piece. My mother-in-law, I can't tell you how many times we start talking about buying a home, and she'll always say, Larry Burkett used to say, that you need a minimum of 10% down. not just for the financial reasons, but if you don't have the discipline to put 10% down, you're not ready for the things that come up with owning real estate. Because when you have real estate, it's hungry for one thing, cash. Real estate loves cash. And so if you don't put 10% down, you're not ready to handle when the hot water heater goes bad, or the furnace goes bad, or the dishwasher needs replaced, or Junior throws a ball through the window, or, oh no, we have a leak and we have a whole bunch of new shingles we've got to put on the roof. Saving 10% means you have built the muscle and character. You probably have some other money set aside to handle when things come up with your house. But there's other reasons. And especially as first-time home buyers, what Steve and I were talking about earlier, when you're a first-time home buyer and you don't put, if you put the 2% or 3% down or no percent down or one of those kind of things, what if you need to leave the house sooner than you thought about? Maybe it's you lost a job and no longer can afford the payments. Or maybe you got a better job, and to get that better job, you're going to have to relocate. So you're in central Iowa right now. You get a job to go up to Minnesota, where you're going to have to sell the home. Well, what are you going to do if you didn't put money down, and we're in an economy like we are right now? Actually, real estate's going back up, but where we were a couple of years ago where it was going down, you're going to have a hard time. You're either going to have to come up with a check or get a loan at closing. Now, most people don't want to do that when they buy a home. Or maybe a family emergency causes you need to relocate your family. Or again, maybe you want to upgrade homes sooner than you thought. So Steve, what do you think about when it comes to 10% down as a minimum? Would you say, Justin, he's right, or Justin, wow, he is out of bounds?
Nope. I would say, Justin, you're right on with that. Unfortunately, a lot of clients that I'm working with don't have that luxury. And so it's hard to get my clients to always subscribe to a philosophy that they don't necessarily do it. But I always try to recommend my clients 25% down, or 25% of your take-home pay,
which
10%
is good.
down. Mm-hmm. Really, the even better way that saves you a lot of signing in our make is just do the 100% down model, like you and Dave suggest.
Absolutely. And actually, just a quick trivia question. Mortgage, the root word for mortgage, Latin for debt till death. That's right. Mortgage literally means in Latin, debt till death. And as soon as you heard that, you're like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to have this mortgage for the rest of my life. So again, minimum of 10% down. And I actually recommend at least getting the 20% to avoid private mortgage insurance, or PMI. Now, if you don't have 20%, you're going to have to get PMI as required by all lenders to do so. But you want to do that. Let's talk now about the whole take-home pay of why 25% of your take-home pay. First off, when you go to a bank, and when I say this, I'm not poo-pooing banks as far as them doing a mortgage loan, but here's what happens. You go into the bank, and I used to do pre-approvals on a daily basis, so I know how this works. You trot down to the bank or the credit union, you fill out this application, they pull your credit, oh, hey, you're pre-approved up to X amount. Well, one of the things in the pre-approval process is what's called the debt-to-income ratio, or DTI. It's banker talk, debt-to-income ratio. And under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines, last I checked, so I may be a little off, they can go up to, on a conventional loan, 40% without having some special approval. Well, 40% of your income gross, which is what they go off of, is 54% net. So that's like taking a paycheck plus a little more of a second paycheck just to make a house payment. And when they're going debt to income ratio, they don't count your food, they don't count your gas, your insurance, your, other things of life, utilities. The only thing they count are the debts that you have and your future payment. That is the only thing you're looking at, debt to income ratio. So you might be pre-approved for $180,000, $280,000. Oh, you have 35% debt to income ratio. You're great. Oh, wow, that does sound good. But when you start adding it, whether you use a spreadsheet for your budget or Yellow Pad, all I recommend doing is just going down. How much are you going to have to go out to eat? Remember, Steve was talking earlier about being able to buy a pizza with the family. I mean, if you've got a family and you can't go out to eat because it's all going to your house payment, I can tell you from personal experience, it's not a fun deal. So, Steve, what do you think about with 25% of your take-home pay? Is that a realistic number, or would you say, Justin, you've lost your mind?
Yeah, I usually, especially if they're not familiar with Dave and his philosophies, I give them a little bit more wiggle room than that. But really, I try to get them around that 25% mark, just because it's going to be a lot healthier. And also, if people have done it right and they don't have other debts, then really that's going to inflate. Because if somebody has a student loan payment and a car payment, it's going to that all gets added into the debt to income ratio, and so their house that they can afford is less.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have any other debts and you go in to get it pre-approved, they're looking at your entire house payment would be that 40% or 58%, the way that you talked about of the net. That is a lot money going towards a house.
It is. And you and I've talked about this. I mean, and all the time on this webcast show, I talk about this with my clients. The average household, as I've known it, no statistic, just by my doing this hundreds and hundreds of times, is that when you add up your student loan payments, your car loan payments, your outstanding medical bills, your credit cards, your department store cards, your overdraft loan, you add up all those payments together, that's usually at least $1,000 a month. So if you have that $800 to $1,000 a month, and now we're going to add a large house payment.
Mm-hmm.
This is how these short sale things happen.
Yep.
Or the number one cause of divorce is money. And a lot of it is because we've got a lot of debt. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to that. And that's exactly right. When you have, you talk about, the more than 25%. And I agree. I mean, if you do your calculation and, well, my net income is like 29.1%. It's okay. Don't get crazy. But if you get past 40% of your take-home pay, 50% of your take-home pay, just because you qualified, and believe me, back in the day, not so much today. I'll never forget when I did a loan once, they went to get pre-approval. I had a client that was pre-approved at 65% of their debt-to-income ratio, which is all of their take-home pay, which would have meant they had no money for food, no money for lights, no money for fuel for the cars. I mean, insanity. And so that's why we want to go off take-home pay. So again, if you're a little over 25%, we don't need to lose sleep over it, but let's use 25% as a good guideline.
Yep, my max range that I go with is about 35%.
Yep.
That's max.
Absolutely. That's good. Now, let's talk also about the length of the mortgage. The standard in the business is 30-year, 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 30-year. All you need to do is Google mortgage loan amortization schedule, type in 30-year mortgage, and I want you to look how much of your payment goes to interest and the principal. I mean, it is just, I'll never forget when I was a mortgage collector, actually just this way, up 8 floors. I'll never forget the first time I realized, wow, almost all of the payment goes to interest. This is yuck. And we look at the 15-year, let's do an example here because some of you are thinking, well, I can't afford a 15-year. Well, let's walk through this. I actually did this calculation if I get to the right page here. So let's say you got a $180,000 loan at 4% interest on a 30-year loan. That's $860 a month, okay? Now, on a 15-year mortgage, same rate, which, by the way, one of the benefits to a 15-year mortgage, as Steve can let you know, is your rate is usually lower, almost by 0.5% in some cases. So another reason why to get a 15-year mortgage is just because of lower interest rate. But on a 15-year mortgage, 4%, $180,000 is a $1,331. So check this out. That's a $470, yes, increase in what you have to pay per month. But here's the situation. That will give you an additional $70,000 and 15 years less in mortgage. And you think, well, I don't have $470. I bet you do. You probably have a nice large Tahoe payment or lots of student loans. And if you got rid of those debts, a 15-year mortgage on a house you would like to own would not be that difficult. But the fact of the matter is, we have a lot of our money tied up in toys and other things, and so that's why a 15-year looks impossible. Now, Steve, do you have something that you can share with you look like you got something you're about ready to share here.
Wheels are spinning here. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, we're going to give him a minute. So while he's doing that, I can just tell you that, again, when you do a 15-year loan, and it seems so countercultural, everyone's doing 30-year, get the shortest payment you can, the most loan you can, but you're spending so much. I mean, think about it. Would you want to give someone willingly $70,000? I wouldn't. But that's what you're doing when you're getting a 30-year versus the 15. Now, Steve, we got a minute left here. Your wheels are turning. I'm excited. What do we got for 60 seconds of wisdom?
So I just grabbed my mortgage calculator just to kind of add to your point even. To go from a 30-year payment to a 15-year payment on a $150,000 house, kind of like we've been talking about average, put 10% down, you're talking $606 a month going for the principal and interest at 3.5%. If you do a 15-year, you're probably going to be closer to that 2.75, so sometimes even more than a 0.5% difference.
Wow.
Your total monthly payment would be $916. So for a little over $300 a month difference. Now your total loan cost, which is getting to what you were talking about, on that 30-year, over 30 years, it's going to be $218,000 versus $165,000. So you're saving huge bucks in the long run, over $300 a month extra each month.
And $916, I mean, you can't find a place to rent anymore almost for that price, anything, so I mean, that's just as good as gold. Well, Steve, as always, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate that. Well, I want to thank Doug Pinterest for doing our show today as a producer and Webcast One Studios for our show. I am Justin Bennett, your host, Strong Tower Financial Hour. Thank you for joining us.